Now let's develop graphic user interface to simulate those shapes implementations. So it will be run like this. As I choose a circle, X location, Y location, width and height, as I specify, I can add a shape that is displayed. For circle, only the first, that was a circle, a rectangle, all of the fours are taken and then used as the value. Then if I give some incorrect number, then it says incorrect number format. And then as I press show all shapes, everything is displayed. So let's first create the window for doing so. First, as you recall in the earlier session, so this part we add J text area to display multi-line message. Of course, this should be wrapped up by J scroll pane so that we could give scroll bars as needed. And then the entire, excluding the title bar from here to here, entire body of the window is called the content pane. So using content pane, we can add the JText area. And then south part of the content pane, we add a big J panel, which is divided by 3 rows by 1, and then in the first row we add the 2 radio buttons. Second row we add X value read, Y value read, width and height read, and third row we add 2 buttons. So that's the south part of the content pane, and then east west on the north of the content pane we do not use. So let's make a window for doing so. So we need to create on the view part a Java window. Let's call it as my window. It has to be child of JFrame class is needed. And then we are going to do configuration called init method. We are going to configure there first size of the window 500 by 300, and then location, let's have a 200 100 as location, and then title bar, let's say my shapes demo, the like. Then in main program, after testing, let's create my window object. Then let's call init, and then set default close operation JFrame exit on close, and then finally set visible true. That's the typical setup of Java window. Then you can verify so far by running the program. We have just a window created, ready to give those structures there. So in my window init, let's first get the handle of the content pane, which is of a container type, content pane. By calling get content pane, we get that. Then let's have a JText area. Since we are going to have access to that, better give it in a member variable. Let's call it display, JText area called display. Create JText area object. Welcome to my shapes. Initial display message there. Then on the center of the content pane, we are going to give a JText text area display wrapped up by J control pane. So J scroll pane, scroll pane, scroll pane. Let's create J scroll pane. First parameter is display, and the second parameter is a vertical scroll bar as needed, and the third one is a horizontal scroll bar as needed. So those are there. Then finally, in the center of the content pane, border layout, center of the content pane. Now we can add a scroll pane there. Scroll pane is added, and then south of the content pane we are going to give a big container J panel. So let's call it, here I forgot to give a semicolon there. No, it's not needed, it's already there. Now J panel, let's call it as a bottom pane, J panel there, and then add on the south part bottom pane, we're going to add that. So bottom pane as control in the controller and container is a one big bottom panel is added. Now on bottom pane, let's have a grid, 3 by 1 grid there. And then first row we are going to add two radio buttons. So access to the radio button, private J radio button. Let's have an array, so which is a shape buttons, and then radio button array size 2 is there, so we are going to have a 2 circle and rectangle there. One of the common mistake here as a beginner of a Java language is what you get at this moment is just the array object. So here shape buttons is a reference to an object which is a array object. This array has two references. Each of the references is a J radio button. So we haven't created any J radio button object yet. What we created is just the array. So we need to create a J radio button object and then assign that into in this array that is needed. So let's set it up for that. So first shapes button 0, we are going to create the J radio button labeled my circle. Then similarly in 1 we are going to create my rect ones. So those two radio buttons are created, and then we need to group them together as a one group so that we can choose only one of the two. Also, we are going to add onto one J panel as a first row of a bottom pane. So let's create J panel is a radio panel, J panel there, and then using loop in case we may have a more shape buttons length. What you need to do is radio panel add two buttons one by one, and then those two buttons should be in the same group logically. That is a button group object, the radio group, new button group there, and then those two buttons let's add to radio group so that only one of the two will be activated. So we have added a radio button in the first row. Let's verify that. Radio button does not show up. That is because we forgot to add that. So let's see that. In the bottom pane, we didn't add the radio panel to the bottom pane yet. So bottom pane, add radio panel. Then let's see, it shows up graphically. Now radio button shows up, only one is active since we grouped them together. So let's work on the second row. In the second row, we are going to give X, Y with the height and those ones. So we need another J panel since we are going to put many values. So value pane, new J panel there. So first in value panel, we are going to add a label X. So we have a J label class and then say X there. Then X is added there. And second, we want to read the value of X. So since we are going to have access to that, better give it as a member. So the type is J text field. Text field is just one single line input. Area is a multiple line for display. So it is one single line. So let's have X value, or let's say X field. So new J text field is there. So similarly, we need the Y field, and then width, height, or radius. So let's call it V1 field, value 1 and value 2 field like that. So let's keep adding that. So value pane, add X field is there. So similarly, we do Y, then Y, and then we give either this is a width or radius depending on the shape type. V1 field, let's do one more time. So this will be height, and then let's have a V2 field, something like this. So let's verify. I mean, now I need to add on the bottom pane, we need to add a value pane there. So let's verify that. So we have, but here the input, the width is too small. So that is when you define JText field, you can now give an integer. That's how many spaces you want to reserve. So 10 spaces for each. How many columns width of the text field is defined there. So let's verify one more time. Everything looks good. Oh, it's too big so that the H part does not show up. So we can either make the window bigger or make the width of each one smaller. So let's do both. So size of the window is 700, and then width of each field, let's change it to 7, the like, and then see how does it look. Now we have all of those shows up. So far so good. One last thing is we want to add two buttons. Add shape button, show all button. So since we are going to have access to that, let's have a member J button, add button, new J button, label is add shape. Then another button is show all button, new J button, show all shapes there. So let's place it on the window. So one last thing is since I'm going to add two buttons, so we need a J panel, button pane, new J panel there, the button pane, add button, then button pane, add show all button, And then finally on bottom pane, add the button pane. That concludes the graphic layout part. So let's finally double check. So we have two buttons added.